It's Ripper here, and yes, I'm late. I didn't mean to be late. I was just late. I would have been on time, except this system kept telling me I needed to log in, but I was logged in. So you know how it goes. Anyway, today I'm excited. I'm going to be talking to Sheryl McCollum. She is actually the creator, founder, inventor, whatever you want to call it, and director of the Cold Case Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. I actually need to send her an email right now so she can join this podcast. And we're also going to be talking about some other topics as well. So people that are jumping in here, thanks for being here. We're going to wait a couple of minutes before I start bouncing things off of Zerk, the producer. Hello, Painted Wolf. For those of you that, well, I have a question. Right now, there's a term out there. You hear it in hip hop music where these writers, singers, rappers, they talk about their painting. Does anyone know what that means? They say they're out there, they're painting. So if you know what that means, let me know in the chat. There's a song out there by a guy named Sugarcane. It says, I'm painting. Well, I'm painting, actually. So if you know what it means, let me know. And I believe Cheryl will be here shortly. Zerk, I don't know if you have your microphone turned on yet or not.
I do. Greetings. Can you hear me?
Are you? Oh, actually, I need to change my speakers. There. Okay. Can you hear me, Zerk?
Greetings. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, I cannot hear you in your echo. Yes, I can hear you. So, hey, now, for those of you that don't know my producer, Zerk, one of the reasons he's here is it was his idea to do a podcast. But I also thought it would be a good idea because Zerk does not know a lot about the Don Lewis case. And that makes it very interesting. So when you talk with someone who does not have a lot of information about it, they can second guess a lot of the crazy theories that are out there. Zerk, I don't know if you saw or not, yesterday I got kicked out of the zoo in Wynnewood, Oklahoma.
I did hear that on my social media platform, and I'm excited about our big show today, Ripper.
I am too. I'm actually, I better send Sheryl a message just to make sure she got although she might have to download the app. I don't know. But I'm excited too. Do you know that she was in Atlanta when the Olympic bombing happened? Did you know that?
I was unaware.
Well, now you know. So we're going to ask her about that. We're going to ask her about the Don Lewis case. She has talked with the Sheriff Chronister at Hillsborough County. She's talked to him a few times. So I'm curious to see if she will share some of the information that she's got from him. Do you think she will?
I think she'll share any knowledge that she has.
Yeah, I don't know if she can share everything because she has an organization called the Cold Case Institute. And I know that they work with law enforcement and they do certain things and they can't share that information with the public. So I'll be interested to see what she can share with us and what she cannot share with us. So tell us, hey, how did you end your fishing trip last week when we talked? You were taking your kid out fishing. Did he end up catching a big one, or what was the final result?
He caught a bass. It was a lot of fun. I'm more interested in this meat grinder. I listened to the previous podcast, and we were going to discuss that. Do you have any additional information about that?
The meat grinder is a topic that, it just, it's a tough one because there are people that say they saw it, and then there's people that actually worked out there that say there was not a meat grinder and that they never saw a meat grinder. Like, for example, the guy that I had a couple of weeks ago on a live stream on my YouTube channel, Jim Moore. He worked out there. He was in charge of feeding the large cats their food. He never saw a meat grinder. So it's really interesting. But I had one of the daughters of Don Lewis. She said that she saw the meat grinder. Vernon Yates tells me there were 2 meat grinders out there. There's other people that were volunteers out there that said they saw meat grinders out there, that they used one of the meat grinders out there. Wendell Williams, who I talked to, told me that Don showed him how the meat grinder worked. So
what's the significance of that? What do you think? I mean, even if it was tested, there's not going to be any remnants or anything like that. What's the significance?
I really don't think, personally, let's say they did find a meat grinder and they tested it. I don't think after all this time there's going to be any DNA on there. And if there is, you're going to figure out what kind of DNA is it. If it was like brain matter DNA, okay, that'd be one thing. But if it's like just skin cells or, like, I'm saying this as a joke for people who know about the Stephen Avery case, but if they say it's sweat DNA, it's something different, because skin DNA, sweat DNA, hair, all of that stuff you would expect could be anywhere on any type of machinery that anyone used. However, if there's certain types of DNA, say it's like blood DNA, or like I said, I don't know if they can tell. I know they can tell where some DNA comes from, but I don't know if they could tell if it came from a certain organ or not. But in that case, it would be pretty important. However, I don't think there would be anything on it after 23 years. But the thing that really strikes me is Carol says there was not a commercial meat grinder. In the documentary, she talks about this small meat grinder, this, I forget what she called it, like a buddy boy or something, a little hand grinder. And that's also what Jim Moore said, that there was a countertop meat grinder. So,
it would take
I have
hours.
documents.
It would take hours to feed all those animals with something like that.
Right. And from what I understand, most of these big cats won't eat anything and everything. They're real picky. However, what really makes me think that there's something to it is that Carol says there was not a commercial meat grinder, yet I found documents showing that there was a permit that was requested and approved to put in a 200-watt amp box for like a walk-in cooler or some type of freezer, and also a meat grinder. So to me, and that was in 1996. So to me, that tells me there was a meat grinder out there. And if there was one, and there's plenty of people who say there was, but if there was one out there, why would Carol be saying there was not a meat grinder? I mean, what would the reason be for that?
You got me. I do not know. She sounds like she's trying to hide something.
It sounds like something. Okay, so I just got a message from Sheryl. She says she has not gotten an invite yet, so maybe I sent it to the wrong email, but let me try again. Oh, I did. Yes, I actually sent
Technical difficulties.
I actually was in a hurry when I sent it, and I actually sent to the wrong. I actually sent it to Carol Baskin at Big Cat Rescue instead. So
Maybe she'll jump on.
just a minor mistake. No, that's not where I sent it. Let me make sure I did this correctly. All right. That is correct. All right. Let me tell her. All right. She should have it now. So she should be jumping on here soon. So I would like to know the people that are here that are listening. I would like to know where some of you are from. Zerk, you're from the Midwest. I'm not going to give the area that you're from, but it's in the Midwest. How is the COVID situation doing up there where you're at?
It's not good. My wife just sent me a note. I live in a small town in the Midwest, and we have 135 cases in the county, which is a high. A week ago, there was like 60, so it's doubled in a week.
Okay.
But my county instituted a mask order for all public places and anywhere where social distancing isn't possible. So we're hoping that it'll sort of level things off in the next week or 10 days. So we'll just have to watch it.
So are you wearing a mask right now on this podcast to protect the listeners?
I'm not, no. But I was so I went to a gas station on Friday night last week, a week ago tomorrow, and there was like 15 people in there. I was the only person wearing a mask.
Really?
I went back in there on Sunday. I scratched that on Monday to get some ice, and it was during lunchtime, and there was like 25, 30 people in there. Every single person had a mask on.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. All right, so we have someone from Iowa, someone from Canada. Iowa, I haven't seen Iowa in the news much with COVID stuff, so I wonder how it is up there. In Canada, I think Canada actually, in the beginning, I think they were doing a lot more than what we were doing in the United States. So I'm curious for the people in Iowa and Canada, what's the COVID situation like that up there? I know in Atlanta, the numbers are probably going to explode with COVID, with all of the protest and things that they're having. And that's something we can ask Sheryl because she is in Atlanta and she has done a lot of research. And I don't know if she's worked on some of the cases going on in Atlanta here recently, but we can sure ask her about that stuff.
It seems like they're getting better at treating it. However, the main concern is medical resources. These hospitals in these densely populated areas are starting to fill up. And if you get sick with something else, with cancer or car wreck, or you break your ankle or something like that, you may or may not be able to get the care that you need. So in my mind, that's the main issue is medical resources.
Yeah, that is a problem. So we got someone from Minnesota here, which a place I called Minnesota because they do get some snow up there. Depending on what part of Minnesota you're from, there used to be a large musical presence in Minnesota, especially around Edina, Minnesota, Minneapolis, which is where Prince was from and where he had all of his musical connections like Mint Condition and the Sounds of Blackness, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, all that stuff was right up there in Minnesota. So to the people in Minnesota that are in here, I'm glad you're here. You guys you used to have a really good music scene up there. I don't know if it's like that anymore or not. All right. So I bet Sheryl, I'm going to just verify one more time. I do have the correct email. She's probably having to download the app, maybe, but I'm not real sure. Hey, I did while we're waiting for her. With the thing yesterday, I want to know what your thought was. I know you don't know a lot about the zoo in Oklahoma City, the place that used to belong to Joe Exotic.
Right.
But I went down there. I wanted to, there was a story on TMZ. There's been pictures out there how all these animals were in really, really bad shape, and the pictures looked horrific. And So one of the reasons I wanted to go there and see how the animals looked compared to how they looked previously. And then also, I did want to talk to Jeff Lowe, although I did communicate with him by phone a couple of days before. He said he was going to be too busy, wouldn't have time. So that was great. That's fine. Not great. That's fine. But I went ahead and went there anyway. Um, when I got there, I asked to talk to him. Lauren came out and said it wasn't a good day. Jeff told you no, blah, blah, blah. I was like, that's fine. I just want to go and look at the place. And she didn't tell me, but someone else came out and said, don't do any interviews. So, okay, I won't do any interviews. I wasn't there to do any interviews. So I went there. I was there for 5 minutes. I recorded this black bear that I saw, this lion and lioness, and they looked healthy to me. I published the video. A couple hours later, I'm doing a live stream. In less than 5 minutes, Lauren comes up, starts accusing me of working with Eric Good, who is one of the producers of the Tiger King show. And I was like, I do not work for him. I don't work for anybody. Anyway, she ended up kicking me out, accused me of working for this guy, Eric Good, which I don't. Like I said, I don't work for anyone whatsoever. And, I left. And then I pulled over about 10 minutes down the road when I had a little time to think. Plus, people were calling me. They were texting me, asking me if I was okay, because I had to shut the live stream off because she was telling me to turn it off. I was at their place. I wasn't trying to cause problems, so I turned it off. Anyway, I don't understand. I didn't say anything bad about them, and I wasn't interviewing anybody, but I don't really understand why they kicked me out of the place. And people have since said that Carol was in Oklahoma City yesterday, that she was spotted at a restaurant. I haven't confirmed that. I've also got screenshots of people posting things on Facebook saying that Carol was at the park, that she was actually at that zoo yesterday afternoon. I've been told that the USDA and whoever does like the game warden stuff, like those people were out there yesterday morning also. So it was a busy day out there at that place. But something that I wondered was I doing the live stream? And I know that Carol subscribes to my YouTube channel. She has notifications turned on. So one of the things I said when I pulled over was, did Carol see my stream and then call them and tell them to get that guy off the property? So I don't know. What are your thoughts? I mean, you saw the video. You don't have a lot of information about the Don Lewis case and all this animal stuff, but I want to know what your thoughts are as like an outsider to all of this stuff.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's their property, and they're probably receiving a lot of attention right now, whether it be from the law enforcement or other media outlets. So they probably don't like any of that type of activity on their property. As far as Carol knowing that you were there or watching your live stream, I have no idea. That would be a shot in the dark. What town is this zoo in?
It's in a town called Wynnewood, Wynnenwood, Wynnewood, Oklahoma. It's south.
It's not the same facility as Joe Exotic's place, is it?
Yes, it's the same place. Yes,
Huh.
it used to be Joe's, and then he turned it over to Jeff, thinking that when Carol won her lawsuit, her judgment against Joe, he thought if he signed the zoo over to someone else, that she wouldn't be able to take it from him. But that's not how things work. And I don't know if he had an attorney that told him that would be a good idea, or, what some people think is that Jeff Lowe told him, oh, if you turn it over to me, she can't take it. So Joe did. And that's why a lot of people say Jeff Lowe stole the zoo from Joe. But Carol got it anyway. I saw in a comment this morning that she said once the animals are placed from that place to to certain places, which it's going to be Colorado. There's a place in Colorado that Pat Craig has where they're trying to get the animals to. That's where PETA is trying to take them. But once the animals get placed, they're going to bulldoze the place down. That's what Carol said in a comment about 5 hours ago under one of her YouTube videos, that they're just going to bulldoze the whole thing down. Now, I'm not into the animal stuff. I don't know if it's better to put these animals down than having them in a cage. I don't know. But I also know one of the things from some of the people that I've talked to that worked with Carol is that Carol wants to be the only place that has these exotic animals. So this place was the biggest one. They had more animals than anyone when it comes to these exotic animals. So if they take these animals and they get them out and they go to a place that is working with PETA, that's one less competitor that Carol has. So I don't know if that's, that's just things that are being said. So I don't know if that's the real reason or if there's something else. It's hard to say.
How long were you there yesterday?
That's a really good question. I got there at, I think I got there around 11 o'clock, 10:30 to 11 o'clock. Let me, okay. So Sheryl said that it's making her sign up. Did it make, when you first got this, app, did it make you create an account?
Likely, yes. That's it could be an issue moving forward. I know that I've had problems joining from a PC. The only way I've been able to do it is on a cell phone.
Okay, I'll ask her if she's on a PC or a cell phone and find out. If not, what I might do is I might just call her on the phone and just put her on speakerphone and run it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it'd be better in here, but I think everybody would be able to hear it if she called. All right, so Potty, hey, what's up? I think Potty, I recognize your profile picture as, I think your initials are MB on your Facebook, maybe. So let's see. All right, so on the cell phone, I'm not sure what the, okay. And hey, Potty, you're on a cell phone. We're going to use the whole audience from the podcast to get this solved.
Technical difficulties. Did you see any animals yesterday, Ripper?
Oh, I did. I did indeed.
Did they seem in good health?
They did actually. I didn't, and it was hot. When I was there, it was like 95, 96 degrees. And of course, I wear long sleeve shirts a lot because I find it to keep me cooler than not wearing. Plus, the sun is not good for your skin. So I had a long sleeve shirt on, and not because I had a long sleeve shirt on did it make it hot, but it was just hot and humid yesterday down there. It was like 96 degrees. Heat index was like 107. And there's a lot of large cats. I mean, a lot. But I only saw two that were panting. And I saw let me think, how many did I see? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I probably saw 30 to 40 large cats. And I'm estimating, because I know there was one cage, there was 3 in there. There were 2 others, and then the lion, and then on the other side, there's at least 30 to 40 large cats. And only 2 of them I saw were panting. they all had water in them. Now, when someone else went down there, the people that sent pictures in before, they said there wasn't any water in the cages. So I don't know if that's what was going on before, but yesterday there was water in all the cages. I actually filmed a guy with a water hose out there watering the cats. All right. Thank you, Slate. All right. I'm going to give her the link for the podcast and see if she can find it that way. Let's see if she can do it this way. All right. So we have, all right, we have military time, and Potty, you're in Germany, right? Because here in the States we don't use Celsius, and we normally don't use like we don't use what we call military time, the 22:36, which is it's 10:30 in the evening your time, correct? Or is it morning? Germany is evening because you are east of us. So your time is before us. Yes, 10:36 p.m. So what's 13 degrees Celsius? What would that be Fahrenheit? Is that like in the 60s? Okay, so there's Carol. I mean Carol. Oh Lord, she's going to kill me for saying that. There's Cheryl, and I'm going to see if I can get her to join the chat this way. I don't know if it's going to let her or not, but she's in the chat. And actually, Sheryl, can you hear? Can you hear me? I assume that you can. Okay, so you should be able to. Now that you're in, you should be able to click the email. Did you get the email that had the invite? I wonder if you click the email now, if it will let you in, since because it actually lets you in where you can talk and you can use your phone. Okay, we're going to stand by because Zerk, you're using your phone, right?
I am, yes, but I also had problems previously when we did some testing.
Okay. Are you on the phone now, or are you using a?
I am on the phone now. Yeah, I wanted to
Okay.
try to use my PC, but it wouldn't let me.
It wouldn't let you do it. Okay. Well, if we can't get her, I'm just going to call her, and I'll just put her on speakerphone like I did when I called Howard on the when I was on the that show over in the UK with those two girls, and I called Howard after I had been drinking. I wasn't like drunk, but I'd had a couple and thought, let's just call Howard and ask him. So I called him. Okay. So okay. That makes sense. So it won't let you do it without a headset because of the feedback. Yes, Slate, that was epic. It was funny. And Howard, I know Howard's a really nice guy. And, I almost felt bad about it for a little bit. All right. So I'm going to call Cheryl on the phone. And we'll just do it that way. If we can't hear it very good, what I'll do is I'll restart with we can do it via the StreamYard or YardStream service that I use, and that works with audio or video. But I'm just going to call you, Cheryl, and see if everybody can hear you, and I'll just talk to you on the phone. We'll do it that way if I can figure this out. All right, here we go. Let's try it. So when I call you, I'm going to have you on speakerphone. And this phone's not very good when it comes to the speaker on
It
it. But
sounds okay.
Hey there.
hey, I have you like live, and I'm just going to ask people that are listening if they can hear you. So maybe you'll just count to 5 for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. They're saying perfect and yes. So they can hear you. They can hear you. Great. All right. Wonderful. Well, welcome to the chat. It's 30 minutes later, but you're here. But I was 10 minutes late also. So that's par for the course for today. But you're here, and that's what's important.
Well, I'm sorry. I kept trying to find the link, and then I couldn't figure out what it was trying to tell me to do. And then by the time I downloaded everything and finally found y'all, it still wasn't working. So I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. I figured it would do something like this, and I thought about just doing it and recording it, but I wanted to do it live because you're an important person. You have a lot of information about different things, and I know people are going to have really good questions. So I thought I'll just do it live. I know there will be some technical difficulties, but we'll just roll with it. And there are people saying thank you for being here. Welcome. So I don't know if you can read the chat now that you're on the phone or not, but
I cannot. But
okay.
I appreciate being here. And I just want to start, if I could, again, by just telling the entire group, the peerless, just investigative work y'all have done is extraordinary. So I just want to say that before we get into any questions y'all might have. But
okay.
Pretty killer what y'all done. So go ahead.
I agree with you. The group is it's simply amazing because there's so much information in there. But one of the things that a lot of people probably don't know is that there's a lot of information that has been gathered behind the scenes that are not, that you can't see in the group. There's tons and tons of Google Drives and files and documents and, things that, as you know, you can't just put everything out there for everyone to see because some of it doesn't need to be out there. But you also want enough out there for people to stay interested. They need something to do because there's a lot of people that want to help this family. But you are absolutely right. The group is they're really good at getting information, and if there was not a group, you and I would not be talking right now because I would not be able to get 1% of the stuff that has come out of that group. It's the work of the whole group that makes things like this work. So I will tell the group what you said, and then I'll post this in there also. But I want to talk about Sheryl McCollum and what you do. The place that you have in Atlanta, what is it?
Mm-hmm. Well, just a little bit of background, just so y'all kind of get to know me a little bit. But I am a native Atlantan. I have 4 sisters, and everybody has always worked in some sort of industry where they help people. I have sisters that are teachers and trauma nurses and that sort of thing. Married my high school sweetheart, and we have 2 children that are just a blast, and we've had a great time with them. And I've been in criminal justice since 1983 officially, and I've worked in just about every aspect that you can imagine. Still active. I'm a crime scene investigator for a Metro Atlanta Police Department. And then I run the Cold Case Investigative Research Institute, which is probably what you want to talk to me about today. And the Cold Case Institute is a nonprofit 501c3 that came about because I used to teach at night. And I had a class that was from 6 to 10 when I was with the Vaughn County Sheriff's Department. And it's really hard to engage people for 4 hours after they've worked all day. So I had the non-traditional students that were a little bit older, or they were still out having a good time and didn't want to come to class till the evening. And so I asked the sheriff at the time, could I take one of our cold cases to class so that they could see all in the different classes that maybe weren't all that fun, how it was applicable in the real world. And he said, absolutely, just of course redact all the information. So I took literally a murder box and I dropped it in the middle of the room at 6 o'clock. And I said, okay, this right now, going forward, is your murder case. Help us solve it. And it was an unsolved case that was a double homicide. And not only did they work up until 10 o'clock, I had to throw them out almost at midnight. They were that engaged with it. So from there, I thought, man, I got a buddy at Auburn University, Montgomery, and one at Faulkner University, completely different areas of discipline than myself. So I thought, if I bring them and their students and the 3 colleges and the different students work on the same case, we might mess up and solve something, right? So it kind of matriculated into this really cool network. And then I had other friends at different colleges, and they wanted in. And then I had a bunch of friends that didn't teach. They weren't connected to colleges at all, but they had, areas of discipline that were meaningful and could guide the students, and then some that could actually transform a case. So then I started inviting different experts to speak, and the students, literally, you could see their entire career path change. So not only now do they have something to put on a resume as far as volunteer work, which is great and wonderful, but they had practical experience and had people that, they could ask now for, could you write me a recommendation, or do you know about a job with your agency, and things like that. So then I had a lot of students become experts, and they've been at their different departments now, 15 years. And so it's grown into this kind of super cool colony, I guess, where we have almost 30 colleges and universities and almost 600 experts in every discipline you can imagine. And we can call on people specifically to help in one area. And even though it's a nonprofit, nobody makes any money. Everybody works for free. So when we raise money, it's for testing or to get an expert somewhere, boots on the ground. Or like what you just did, we have ground penetrating equipment, drones. If we got to rent a boat, if we need somebody doing a scuba dive, something like that.
Right.
So that's what we do. And
Okay.
that's in a nutshell.
Right. And then if someone wanted to help you all, what would they do? Is there a website that they can go to? If someone wanted to donate money to your organization, what would they need to do?
Sure. I mean, they can go to our website, which is coldcasetips.org, or they can reach out to any of we have different Facebook pages, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. They can get in touch with me through you or however y'all want to do it. But yes, they can help. And what makes us a little different, let's say, for example, y'all noticed we were working on Tammy Jackson's case, and somebody in your audience got particularly involved with that and felt really compelled. They could send $5 and say, I want this to go to Tammy Jackson. Will you update me on how the money was used? And the answer is yes and yes. So if they wanted money to go for an MVAT test, or they wanted money to go to get Betsy Ramsey or Dr. Laura Petler somewhere, I can let them know this is literally what your money did.
Right.
So it's not like you're just, writing a check to United Way and hoping they do what you want them to do with it. You can tell me what you want me to do with it.
Right. Which is really nice, because there are people that want to help, but they get scared that if they send money, it's not going to help what they want it to help. Like,
right.
I was talking to someone this morning, said, if I'm working on 4 different cases and someone says they want to help on the Don Lewis case and they sent money and I use that money to work on the Stephen Avery case, they probably are not going to be very happy about that. And they're not going to want to send money in the future. And, now I haven't had people sending me money like that. So I just want to make that clear. But I did have a conversation with someone this morning about, nonprofits, and that if a nonprofit's out there, they should explain to who, where the money is going. It would be great if you could actually find out exactly where your money was going. And in this case, you guys already do that. So that's wonderful. So for those of you out there, all you got to do is you can Google Cold Case Institute and find it under they have a .org, which is coldcasetips.org, correct? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. And if you want to donate, please do it. They do a good job with stuff. Cheryl has told me numerous times, if you need an expert, let me know. She's referred different experts already. I'm not going to go into details about my conversations with them. But she has done that. She has given me advice, and she has given the Don Lewis family advice and things that they could do to help with this case. So Cheryl is good people. And I've had some people that, when I work wrongful conviction cases like I have in the past, a lot of times the people that we're looking at is, law enforcement people that might have set someone up. So someone asked me the other day, they said, well, this Sheryl McCollum, she's like former law enforcement, right? I said, yeah, I do know that. I said, but that not all law enforcement is bad. I said, there's some bad apples out there that make it really bad for the good ones. And Cheryl's one of the good ones. So I just want people to know that you have, anytime I've called you, you've answered the phone, you've texted. Anytime this family of Don Lewis has reached out to you, you've responded to them. You've also talked to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department. Before I started this show, when Zirk and I was talking, that was one of the things I talked to him about. I said, well, I know she's talked to them, but I don't know if she can share what the conversation was that she had with Sheriff Chronister. So is there anything that you can share that you and the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department had discussed?
Sure. First of all, let me say one thing. I think I switched the website. I think I got it confused with our Instagram. Our website is coldcasecrimes.org.
Okay. Cold Case Crimes with an S at the end?
Yes.
Okay. So coldcasecrimes.org.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I was thinking about it, and I thought, that's not right. That's Instagram.
Okay.
A lot of this stuff students have set up, and obviously, since it took me so long to get on the phone call today, y'all know I'm not real technical.
No, it's fine.
Sometimes I get it. But here's what I will tell you a little bit about Sheriff Chronister. So Nancy Gray did an episode on Tiger King where she invited me to be part of that. When I gave my first little diatribe about what I thought, after the show was over, sometimes we all stay on the phone in a group. And so I was talking directly to him, and he said, well, do you think your group, would be willing to help? And I said, of course. So I immediately reached out to some of our folks, and even though Ripa didn't mention any, I'll just tell you a few of them just so y'all can kind of understand how we operate. But one of the first things I told him I would do is what we call a real quick orbit. And it's just a quick 360. What do I see? What do I think? What do I believe you can do quickly? Because as y'all know, after this thing hit TV, it became its own thing. It was perpetual motion. So we wanted to give him something they could start on pretty quick. So I talked to folks like Dr. Lillian Glass. And if y'all have ever had a chance to watch her or know who she is, she's a body language expert, but she's phenomenal.
Right.
So she's been on, different things as far as like the Oscars and, looking at the royal family, are they going to stay together or not? So she's really in tune with that. She helped me tremendously on the Natalie Wood case, specifically watching tape of Robert Wagner from when they were married the first time up until today. So she's brilliant. She's a lot of fun. So she's somebody that I put on this pretty quick to go back and watch Tiger King and tell me specifically about, Cheryl. I'll tell y'all that. I mean, that's obvious. That should be obvious to anybody. And everybody, working investigation like this should look at body language when somebody's talking, especially freely.
Correct.
Also talked to Peter Hyatt. Peter Hyatt is a statement analyst, and Peter did a workup for us that was just remarkable. Dr. Laura Petler, who's the criminologist for Dr. Oz. Dr. Petler did a thing showing the sheriff's office exactly what they could do as far as if anything with the crime scene looked staged, specifically the van. The van was something we concentrated on, obviously, immediately. Judge Ashley Wilcox gave a lot as far as what can be done now legally. Karen Smith, if y'all know Karen at all, she was CSI with Jacksonville, Florida. She is so awesome. She's got a podcast. She's got stories that are just remarkable. But her podcast, I think, is Shattered Live. And the minute she starts talking, you're kind of sucked in. So she's cool, people. And she helped with, let's look at this meat grinder versus septic tank versus whatever. So she did that sort of stuff. So again, people like Stephen David Lampley. Do y'all know Stephen?
I know the name.
Okay. He's a body decomp expert. He's a profiler, and he's an expert with lies. So again, obviously, watch the thing. Who's lying, if anybody? And then, of course, the forensic accounting. And that's something, Ripper, you and I talked about.
Yes.
Ad nauseum. So again, for us, that's the kind of thing we did very quickly. Well, then that's how I found y'all. Well, almost immediately, I'm like, dude, you've got a corporal over this case that has 5 people with him. They cannot do what y'all are doing at the same time frame. So I know one of the first conversations we ever had, I told Ripper right off the jump, y'all are so far ahead, I doubt we could catch up with any legitimate time frame. So when you're talking about pulling all the records that y'all have pulled and looking at everything and getting all these folks on video, that's a money tree in my business. Mm-hmm. You've already done it. So A, there's no reason to try to go back and reinvent it. And 2, it's right there in front. So like I told Gonzalez, if I were him and you've already got Anne McQueen, for example, on video, watch it, then talk to her. Right?
Yeah.
It's a playbook. It's a gift is all I can tell you. And, Anne's got a ton of great information. So does almost everybody y'all have talked to that really can propel this thing years ahead of where they would be if they would embrace it. And I know everybody's not into crowdsourcing, which is a new buzzword now. I know everybody doesn't trust the internet. I know everybody doesn't understand how the media actually works as far as how they can help on your cold case. But again, that's one of my mantras. And civilians solve cold cases all the time. Look at, DC Sniper. It was a truck driver that found them. Mm-hmm. And you look at Zodiac. It was a school teacher that cracked the first code. Embrace people. Let them do it, man.
Right. Save the taxpayers some money. And I mean, the thing up in Canada.
Save the taxpayers some money.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of people that, I'm married to somebody smarter than me. That should be what you want. I want to be surrounded by people that are smarter than me. And one of the things that I teach my students is if you're the smartest person in the room, you are limited. And I don't want to be limited. So if I can have all of your folks and everybody at Hillsborough and everybody else that's in the Institute, think of what could get done if those 3 forces combine.
Right.
Good Lord, honey. That's what you want, right? We're not competitive. I'm not competing against you. You and I have nothing to compete with. I want the truth. I want Don Lewis's family to have some information they didn't previously have before I got involved. I want them to know people still care, the advocacy piece, and if possible, I want somebody to answer for whatever happened to Don Lewis, period.
Right.
So if you're the one that does that, or somebody in your chat, or somebody at Hillsborough, well, praise the Lord. I'm just happy it's done. It ain't got to be by my avenue.
Right. And I've said this to other people. I don't know if I've ever said it on my channel or not, but I have said it to people, and I might have said it to you. I don't care which fire department puts out the fire. It just needs to be put out. And if that's, if that's Chronister, great. If that's someone from the Free Joe Exotic group, great. I don't care who it is. And I will say, I was sharing all of my information with anybody and everybody who I thought was helping. But in the last couple of weeks, there are a few people we did we did back away from because they wanted to be the fire department that put out the fire, and they were doing it in a way where they were telling people, do not share information with the group or with Ripper. I mean, they said my name specifically. And, I just thought, well, I don't want to work with someone who's going to do that and have those tactics, because these were sources that I gave them. Like I said, here's the number for them, call them, get their story. They have good information. And then they turned around and told them not to tell me, information. And I just thought, wow, that's just not the way that I work. And anyway, so I'm not giving those people information anymore, but they were getting the information from us anyway. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's too bad that, there are people that want to be the fire department out there that puts out the fire. But I know you're not like that, because you've given me really good information. If you wanted to be the fire department, you wouldn't have given me some of the things that you gave me, nor would like the Tampa Bay Times. They've given me information, and they could have kept it for themselves for, their story. Now, they did say, please.
But here's the thing, like, I don't even hardly post about it. The students are gung-ho, and you were gracious enough to meet with one group already.
That group was amazing too, by the way.
Yeah, they're awesome kids. They really are. They're smart. They're hungry. They want to go to work. And again, since nobody's paid, they don't get internship credit. They don't get scholarships. None of the experts is paid. So, like, Dr. Glass may make $500 an hour, where Dr. Laura may make $375. I don't pay either one of them anything ever. They do the right thing for the right reason at the right time on the right case for the right family. That's it. And if you're not about that, then we can't use you. Period.
Right. Yeah.
So, again, like your people, you're talking about 2,000 people working around the clock. They ain't clocking in. They're not making money, but they're doing it because they have an ability that they're sharing. And it's so important. And, I'm Episcopalian, so I believe that's what you should be doing anyway. And I believe it comes right on back to you, and your life is so much better for it. And it's the truth. The harder I have ever worked on something that's free, like you mentioned the Olympics to me, I didn't get paid for the Olympics. I got paid for the Crown Commission to do my job while at the Olympics. But the crisis response team was a volunteer group. We didn't get paid anything. I have been paid more because of that one morning than almost any other thing in my professional career. That catapulted me in a whole new level. So suddenly the State Department wanted me to train law enforcement. I would have never trained law enforcement from around the globe if it had not been for the Olympic Park bombing, which was an international event.
Right.
So good things do come. I'm just telling you. And the folks, what they're doing, because you heard what I said on Nancy Grace, and I don't know how many people in your chat room know, but, I said, if there's, don't F with cats, y'all are don't F with bigger cats. And it should be a show. And people should know what you have done, because, again, collectively, when good people come together, you literally will change the world.
Right. And I don't know if everyone's seen that documentary, Don't F with Cats, but I had seen it and then I watched it again. Um, After I had a conversation with you on the phone, and then someone else brought it up to me and they said, your group, and I have to remind people, like, it's not my group, I mean, like, I'm in the group and, there's 4 admins, but it's a group. It's not my group. I'm not the leader of the group, but, they said your group is like Don't F with Cats on steroids. And,
Correct.
After they
Yep.
said that, I had remembered watching it, when it first came out. So then I went and I watched it again and I was like, they're right, because that group, they were pulling up pictures from these videos that this guy was posting and they were finding out where was that vacuum sold, how many places could sell it, what parts of the world has, that
Yep.
poster and all these different things. And it is the same thing, but I think it is on, I mean, it's a different case. With this case, there's a lot of documents out there. There's a lot of information out there. With that case, though, there really wasn't very much information. And the information that they had, they did a wonderful job of getting more information, finding out where this guy was taking pictures from, what part of the world he was in.
It was fantastic.
It really was. It was an excellent show, and I would love to be able to meet with that girl that was featured in that, and then the guy. I would like to talk to them and just ask them what was some of the things that they did, that would help our group in uncovering stuff. But it was really good. Someone
Well,
wants,
I know somebody that knows her, so maybe I can connect the 2 of you. I'll be happy to try.
okay, yeah, that would be
important.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah,
Oh, count on that.
I've got
Yep, count on
someone
that.
in the group asking, you might not know the answer to this, but, and then again, you might, says, why, ask why the sheriff's department in 23 years was not able to uncover what the group did in just a few months. And then I'll say,
I will give you a general answer.
okay, and
then
then I'm going to do an answer too, but go ahead.
Okay. I can't speak specifically to what they've been doing the last 23 years, but I can tell you what typically happens. If you just think of criminal cases coming into your department as a conveyor belt of candy. And so what you do immediately is you grab what you know you can get rid of easy. So you arrive on the scene of a shooting and the guy's sitting on the couch holding a gun saying, I can't believe I shot him. Okay, that's good. I can clear this one, right? So you put everybody on that case and you work it. Then the next one comes in and there's a body in a field. There's no report of a missing person. There's no ID on the person. We don't know anything about them. If they're from the town, not from the town. So you kind of, well, here comes another one. So you've got to jump on another case. So the man in the field, you just kind of, you're working it, but there's really nowhere to go with it yet.
Okay.
So again, you've done for the low-hanging fruit. So again, what happens is it's human nature a little bit, is if it's harder, I'm going to oftentimes do it last, right? And the longer it goes, the less viable witnesses, evidence, linkage that you're going to have. And so now that you have gone a year and you still have nothing, and then 2 years and you have nothing, the more a case is put on the back burner, it's not that the case is ever forgotten, but it gets more and more difficult to actually work, if that makes sense.
Right.
And this is not a cop-out. I'm giving no excuse to anybody. Let me be clear on that. But we have departments that don't even have cold case units. And we don't have volunteer detectives assigned to anything. So these active homicides always take precedence because you're constantly, trying to manage and you're constantly triaging. So if there's no DNA and there's no new whatever, the body sits on the shelf so somebody goes, oh, what about that? Didn't Joe, who just retired, wasn't he working that? And they may call Joe, and they may try to every now and then take a look at something, or let a rookie detective, try to teach them different elements of detective work. It's just the real world. It just happens.
Right. There's a lot of crime happening in this country, and well, before I get into that, because that's a whole nother podcast, but let me try to answer this, because although I met with Corporal Garcia, he didn't give me any information really, but as far as what they've done or uncovered in the last 23 years, I don't really know what they've uncovered. I mean, they might have some really good information, but they can't do anything with it. I don't know. I just don't know if they do. But I will tell you that when I met with the daughters, they went in to meet with the sheriff's department in 2007 on the 10th year anniversary of their dad being reported missing. And so that was 2007. And at that meeting, they were informed that a couple of years back in 2005, Susan Aronoff had recanted her story about signing as a witness and Dawn being there. But they never told the family any of this stuff, but they told them in 2007. And, had they known in 2005, the family might have had a chance to actually take action on that in a civil manner, but they couldn't. But anyway, I didn't know if when there's a cold case or an old case out there and new information comes in, does or should law enforcement update the family on stuff like that, or do they just put it in the file? Like what? Because I think that would have been something for the family that they should have learned in 2005 when law enforcement did.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on stuff like that?
I'm going to give you the short answer. It depends on who they have in their suspect list. There's a lot of people that are murdered by family members. So they don't want to give the family any information because it may be somebody they're looking at. Not in this case. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Once a detective gets burned, meaning they give information to somebody and it comes back to really bite them, they tend to then close off and not ever give information unless they're almost ordered by a judge or their chief to do so. So I believe personally the family needs to be part of that group that's going to solve this thing. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And I
think that when you're looking at the victimology, only the family can truly tell you. And so to me, when I do a victimology, I want to include the spouse, if there is one, children, but then I want the best friend, and then I want coworkers. Because here's the reality. I'm going to be very different with my husband than I am with my best friend, and then I'm very different at work. So people have layers to them. My children know somebody that's completely different maybe than my coworkers know. Well, then I want to talk to all these people to really understand who was Don Lewis. So it's not okay just to say, well, he had affairs and he spent a lot of time in Costa Rica and he was a millionaire. That doesn't tell me about him. Those are bullet points. Those are headlines. I want to really know about him. So if he, expected a lot of himself, he was a hard worker. He expected the same work ethic of other people. That's important to me. He loved his girls. That's important to me. He stayed married 30-something years. That's important to know that, right? Because that's going to tell me something about Cheryl. Then that's going to tell me something about what's the deal with these tigers? How did that come about? I need to know that in order to understand him broadly and correctly. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
I'll give you an example. Tupac Shakur. Most people think rapper, gangster, hard kind of dude. But if I were to tell you that Tupac Shakur was the Mouse King in the Nutcracker ballet, you might go, what? But that's important to know about him.
Right.
So again, the victimology is important.
Right. Right.
So I think the family should be included. And here's my other thing, this last thing I'll say. Even if the family is your suspect, by including them, it only gives you more opportunity to watch their mannerisms when you tell them things. It only gives you more opportunity to get them talking. And they will mess up. They will trip up. They will say the wrong thing. So I think it's important. But you got to, put the work in. So that's my 2 cents.
Right. You got to keep your suspects close if you can. And that would be a good way by updating them about the case. Even the wife would have been a good person to go and update about the case, just to not interrogate her, but just to get more information and to see. I don't know if you saw the thing I did the other day. I don't even remember what day it was, with the August 19th diary that was in the Tampa Bay Times. I don't know if you saw when I live streamed that, because I had read it before, but I was real busy when I did it, but I knew stuff in there didn't match up. And then over the weekend or whenever it was, I got obsessed with it. And then it finally hit me that in the diary entry that Carol sent the Tampa Bay Times for August 19th, that's the day that she reported him missing. In that diary entry, she says she saw Don Monday morning, and he told her to get the truck ready because, he was going to leave early tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. So that would have been Tuesday morning when he was leaving, not Monday morning.
Right.
But everything that I've learned, it's always been he was leaving Monday morning. But in that diary entry that, I haven't seen that entry out there anywhere else, except she actually sent it to the Tampa Bay Times for their article. It says Tuesday. And there's some other things in that diary entry that, she says she went to Albertsons after 11 p.m., after the 11 p.m. feeding. And, she got home at 4 a.m. But if someone were to keep updating her with information about her missing husband, they might have gotten information about what she did that night. Also, although they weren't, interrogating her, she could have just said, given them random information. She could have said, I left at 2 to go to Albertsons. And if she says she left at 2, but then she's putting a diary entry out there that says she left at 11 p.m., that would kind of be a problem, I would think. But how, as far as these diary entries that she's reading and putting out there, how much, can they be used as evidence, or are they just for entertainment purposes only, as she has under her disclaimer on her YouTube channel? Can they be taken as evidence, or could she just say, oh, it's for entertainment only?
Well, anything you say or do can be held against you. Of course it can, especially if it shows discrepancy. So I'm a big believer in a war room. I'm extremely visual. So I like to have literally up on the wall, and I would make big statements. Like, here's what she said on this day. This is what she said day 7. This is what she said day 23. This is what she said day 48. And I'm going to look for those. And one thing I'll tell your group, I don't know if they know or not, but do they know my connection to Nancy Grace at all?
Some of them do.
Okay. Well, just real quickly, I won't bore y'all with the whole story, but when I was assigned to the major case division in Fulton County, Nancy was my prosecutor. So we worked together way back in the day, and I will tell you, there was no better at weaving a story through statements and photographs than Nancy Grace. No one. And we would spend weeks putting together these visuals and putting together how she was going to frame the story. And she would have that jury locked from minute one. She started talking to them, period. So I like the monster of evidence. I like to show people. And also, when I interview somebody, I always get them to write a statement first. Then when I start to talk to them, they can't change what they wrote down, right? So
Right.
I said, well, this is what you said here, but now you're saying this. And I'm taping it so I can go back and look at it. I mean, if I'm wrong, correct me, right? You just kind of do a little Columbo thing. And so, again, the more you talk to somebody, you just keep going back to the point that doesn't make any sense. And like for Cheryl, I know you've got some extraordinary people in your audience, but I want to ask them something. So, like, when you watch her, there's one clip from the news where she's got a side pony and she's got a headband on that's like blue, I think, and then a hair scrunchie that's pink, and then another one that's blue. Does anybody remember what I'm talking about? She's crying, talking about.
Yeah, it's on the Fox. I think it's the Fox 13
Okay.
or Fox 10 channel out of Tampa.
Okay. So an investigator like me, here's what I'm looking at. I will turn the sound off. I don't care what she's saying yet. I'm watching her. The first thing that jumped out at me on that one clip is she looks like an extra from a music video of Olivia Newton-John physical.
That's it. I've heard many people ask if she was like in the Xanadu video that day or yeah.
Okay. So what that says to me is she's dressing for men. So she's still trying to scam men. I'm younger than you think I am because the way I'm dressing. I'm sad, so you have to come save me. That sort of thing. So you start to look for the cons. Then you turn the sound on. And then you start to say, wait a minute, what's happening? Right? So you break down every single thing that you can, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I did make a video about that video and some of the comments that she had made on that. But I think more people commented about her outfit that she was wearing during that interview because I mean, that was shortly after he went missing, and that's her. I mean, that's how she's going to be presented on the news.
You see, you're folks, y'all are already on top of it again, which I've said from the beginning. But that's the kind of thing again you look for. I mean, that's just what you do. So, like again, John Benet Ramsey, what picture did they give everybody? The young girl that was just missing from that small town. She was a cheerleader. You know, what picture did her mama give? That's going to tell you a whole lot because they're trying to tell you something about the child. They're not focused on the child missing, if that makes sense.
Right. They're trying to distract you from one thing to something else. And they might not know they're doing it sometimes, you know. I mean, you know, people make mistakes after they commit a vicious crime. They don't think things through, or they just don't know. Like if I were to commit a murder, it would be so easy to catch me because I just would not think of all the things that you are supposed to do. I mean, I wouldn't even have a clue what to wear. Like if my wife went missing and I was interviewed on the news, I wouldn't even know what I was supposed to wear. I mean, I'd probably wear a suit, but you know, I wouldn't even, you know, I don't even think I would really think about it that much. I think I'd be like, you know, normally if I'm, you know, I don't ever wear suits. I mean, I do, but it's like for a funeral or something. Normally I just wear a long sleeve button up shirt, but in that case, I probably wouldn't wear, you know, like a size medium shirt and go do some push-ups before the interview. So my muscles are pumped up, and I wouldn't even care like how I looked like for the ladies, you know. But it's a good point. When I watched that video, the one that you're talking about, the one thing that stood out to me that I wanted to find out was the flight instructor, Wayne Prim, had said Don had just been in there looking for planes to buy. And I was like, okay, well, I need to talk to this guy. So then I talked to him. And of course, he told me, he said, well, what they didn't put in that interview is that I told them that he had been in years before. And that's how I first met him, was he came in to look for planes to buy. But in the news broadcast, they made it appear like he had been in that weekend looking for planes, when the guy totally said that's how I met him, was he came in to look to buy planes. And then he said, he goes, and to be honest, he said, I hadn't even talked to him in years. So he goes, it was so long ago when he came in to look for planes. He said he felt like it was partly his fault that law enforcement made it appear that the guy could have flown away because of what he said in that news interview. That, you know, he said it really looked like he had just been in there recently looking to buy a plane. He goes, that wasn't the case, but that's how they edited the video. But you can get a lot of things from, you know, those interviews. So I guess I need to go back and watch all of the interviews. And of course, you know, Carol puts out a YouTube video every day, sometimes twice a day. I mean, if you ever wanted evidence or to find out, you know, find out details about some, like a profiler or a body language expert, I mean, you're giving them all of the material they need to find out exactly if you're lying, if you're telling the truth. I mean, I mean, yeah. Well,
and here's the thing, to go back to what you were talking about, as far as, if I was going to try to do this, most people think they have this plan. And Vanessa Gullin, who was just murdered at Fort Hood, right? When people think, I'm going to kill somebody, then I'm going to hide them in a pelican case, then I'm going to dig a shallow grave, and then they're not going to fit in the grave, so I've got to dismember them. That's a great plan if you're just driving around fantasizing, but most people have never dug a grave, even shallow, and most people have never dismembered a person, so it's not ever what they think it's going to be, ever. And so that's when the mistakes are made. So like in Vanessa's case, again, they leave the case right there, they leave the accelerant cans right there, they leave her right there because they thought, well, I'll just burn her up. It's harder to burn a body than you think it is. So a lot of evidence was left there because they did not know what they were doing, other than just thinking, hey, this is what I'll do. So we are grateful for mistakes that are made like that. And that's why in this case, again, when somebody says he just disappeared, that's never true.
Correct.
Never.
Right. Yeah.
People don't vanish.
Yeah.
They do not. They have things happen to them. And there's usually a roadmap to tell you if this was, again, 101, Investigation 101, who's the last person to see? Then you start right there. And you don't get off that hill until you have proven you can get off that hill. Period.
Right. And from what we know, the last person to see him, based on that diary entry now that we have, is Cheryl on Monday morning.
Of course. Of course.
And then in the newspaper article that I had found, it says in that article she told detectives that he left the night before, that he left Sunday night. So there's two different stories. Now, I don't know if the newspaper article is taken from the missing persons report or where they got their information from. But, if she told law enforcement that he left Sunday night and was never seen again, and then she has a diary entry that says she saw him Monday morning at 4 a.m. and then again, at 6 a.m. or whenever it was before the sun came up, that's a pretty big problem to have, I think, if you are the person who saw him last and now you have different stories. But of course, that's not enough, I don't guess, for probable cause for a murder. Now, why do you think, I'll ask you and then I'll let you go, it's still classified as a missing persons case? Chronister went on TMZ and said he thought multiple people had something to do with I think he said the murder of Don Lewis. But why do you think he still has it, or they have it classified as a missing persons case and not a murder case? Maybe you don't know.
I mean, that would be a complicated answer, I think. They may have their own reason based on who they have it assigned to, why they have it assigned there, and what they're able to do on a missing person versus a homicide. And I mean, that's their call. For me, I will straight up tell everybody in your listening audience right now, you work it the same way.
Okay.
So if I have a missing person, personally, I'm working that as a homicide.
Okay.
I'm going to put everybody on it. I'm going to do everything perfect. I'm collecting everything. I'm keeping everything. And then if I'm wrong, great. We'll chalk it up to training. But if I'm not, then no, seriously.
Yeah.
If you start working something like a homicide, and all of a sudden 2 weeks later he comes back home and says, "I told her I was in Costa Rica. I don't know why she called y'all." Great. Then everybody, we did fingerprints right. We took the photographs right. Everybody wore gloves. Everybody bagged and tagged correctly. You know, we were on it.
Right.
So there's no harm there ever. I would much rather that happen than the opposite happen. So again, for me, that van is a money tree they lost. That van should have been taken that day, and they should have looked for everything from damage to it to sand or dirt or grass that don't belong or don't fit. They should have looked for fingerprints and blood and footprints and lip prints, anything that showed any kind of disturbance, anything that didn't belong. When you've got keys and a briefcase, you should have said to yourself right there, this is either the worst staged thing I've ever seen, or something happened to this man before he got completely out of this van.
Right.
So
right.
Anybody should have looked at that and said, I don't know why it don't feel right, but it don't feel right. I mean, to me, the briefcase is just too obvious. Hey, I've disappeared. Here's all my important paperwork. Not money, not serious important paperwork that anybody said, oh my gosh, all this, contracts or whatever was in there, or stocks or bonds. There was nothing like that. And the keys just dropped on the floorboard. I mean, that's just conspicuous to me. And, that's just how I work.
And no license plate.
And the license plate. I mean, you just go on and on and on. There's no hair. There's no weapons. There's no sign of a fight or a struggle. There's not footprints and handprints all over the windshield, and the roof of the car ain't ripped. I mean, come on now.
Right.
You're talking about a guy that wouldn't have gone easy. He wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm. Right. And from what I understand, his briefcase had a false bottom in it, and he was known to carry a large amount of money in that briefcase. I've heard he would carry $200,000 in that false bottom in that briefcase sometimes, but nothing.
Let's get real. If we're being honest, you're talking about a 1989 work van, and Don didn't dress like he was a maitre d' at the Four Seasons. Nobody that's a stranger is kidnapping that dude.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
And plus, he was never ransomed. There's that. They're not going to do it, and they're certainly not going to do it that sloppy. And they're not going to do it when Cheryl happened to be out at 3 a.m. and saw her brother, who was in law enforcement, who incidentally did not go all over TV, did not take the lead on this thing, did not inform the family like he should have as far as what's going on in the investigation. You got an insider. I get people calling me all the time. Hey, what do you think of this? Hey, can you help me with that? What does it mean that the police tell me this? And you're telling me her brother did not become the family spokesperson? Her brother did not say, look, we need to get on this. This is my brother-in-law. The whole thing doesn't fit. And if it doesn't, you have to go back and say, look, there's too much here that I'm questioning. Some things are fine with me. Somebody refuses to take a polygraph, that's okay with me. People are scared. People think, oh, they might find out that I shoplifted in 10th grade. Okay, don't take the polygraph. But there's a plethora of things here that make you say something is not on the up and up. And you need to go back from ground zero as much as you can.
Right. Yeah, because that first week he went missing, there could have been so many things done. And
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and the fact that these 3 daughters didn't even know their dad was
Mhm.
missing until 30 minutes before the
Right.
news broadcast.
Right.
You know, I just thought, what in the
It's a little
world?
thing.
I mean,
Like Ripper, do you do to-do lists? Do you make to-do lists or checklists?
sometimes I do, but I'm not good at it. But normally what I'll do is I'll have a goal and I'll write the goal down. But my wife does like to-do lists. She has a list of
Okay.
things.
That's something I would want to know about Don Lewis. Did he have one? Where is it? Where did it stop that day? What did he not check off? You know, little things. Or any clothes, any tools, anything missing. I'm telling you, that van was not searched like it should have been. I mean, I take fingerprints off vehicles all the time, every single day of my career. And you're going to tell me there's a van with no fingerprints?
I know,
It's not
right?
possible. It's not possible.
Especially after
Unless
it was
it's done
driven
on purpose.
back
You know what I
by
mean?
people. Like they admitted to driving it back and not fingerprints. Someone in the chat just made a good comment that those real estate signs that were dropped off at Sheldon Wynn's office that were picked up by Wendell Williams on Monday morning, they said those signs should have been fingerprinted. And
of course,
it would be nice to know who actually dropped those off, because in that diary entry, Carol states that she heard the phone call about those signs having to be dropped off, and she had to finish making the signs. Now, when I talked to Wendell in person, he told me he received that phone call on Thursday evening. He said I think he said Wednesday or Thursday is when I got the phone call to pick up the signs, for Monday or whatever it was. But in Carol's diary entry, she says it was Saturday night she overheard the phone call. So I don't know what that's about, if Wendell was wrong or that was an alibi, for Carol saying that Dawn was home Saturday night. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't match up with Wendell's account. And then I'll send you the diary entry. I don't know if you have it or not, but I'll send it.
I don't.
Okay. I'll send it to you because
somebody else will need to buy, but I don't.
Okay.
But here's the last thing I want to say, and I know, again, your group already knows all of this. But if you're looking at means, motive, and opportunity, you break down, let's just say he was murdered. That's how we're going to work it, like I told you. People are typically murdered only for 3 reasons: sex, money, and revenge. And there's a 4th one, but the 4th one is so rare, I don't even include it yet. I want to go through the first 3 first. But the 4th one is they just come across somebody that's crazy. So Don was not kidnapped, put in human trafficking, or to be raped. It doesn't appear that theft was the motive because he's in a piece of crap van and they didn't take the briefcase or the keys or anything. So that leaves revenge. So to me, your suspect pool shrinks pretty good. Now that's just when you look at it quickly on the surface. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
Later you get into the 2 passports and the other country and the wheeling and the dealing. But again, it may be money involved as a motive, but it's revengeful, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's because you're going to leave me or you screwed me out of money, if that makes sense. It's not, I didn't come to your house to rob it and then you surprised me and I shot you. It just doesn't have that feel to it. This is somebody wanted that man gone.
And I don't know yes, someone wanted him gone, and I mean, he's gone. And then all the things that happened after that, a few people, their actions made it known that they knew he was gone and not ever coming back.
Correct.
I mean, that's
shutting his phone off.
shutting his phone off, giving his gun collection away, going and hooking up his office and hauling it away.
Correct.
well, somebody knew this man was never coming back. And, yeah.
And see, like when I talk to Donna or I talk to Ann McQueen or, any of the folks, you get a sense, you know who Don Lewis was. They're telling you.
Right.
He's a man's man. He works hard. He does love women.
Absolutely. He had a roaming eye. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you put that where it belongs.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you something else. And when you read this diary entry, you're going to see all this. But in that diary entry, when she says that Monday morning they went to go get her car that broke down when Don gave her the ride, she says when they went back to the house, he gave her his car phone to use in case she needed to call somebody. Now, in the diary entry, she talks about she tried to call, like when her car broke down the first time, she tried to call her daughter. She tried to call the house. So she had a phone. And I'm told by Ann that Carol had her own cell phone. But she states in that diary entry that Don gave her his car phone in case she needed to call somebody. But then, when I talked to Ann later, I interviewed her another time, not on my channel, but another time in person. She said that the week of the 26th through 28th, when Carol was coming to the office every day, she said at some point on one of those days, Carol told her, "You can quit calling Don's phone. I have it." Now, if she had his phone, it's almost 10 days, well, almost a week after he'd been missing. So I don't know if the battery would have been that, like, lasting that long or whatever. But she told Ann she found the phone in one of the vehicles. But in the diary entry, she says Don gave it to her. And I understood from someone that had access to the police report for a while, or someone read it to them, that she told them in the police report that Don had given her his cell phone. So would it be odd to you if she ended up with his cell phone, no matter how she got it? Would it just be odd to you that she ended up with his cell phone?
As an investigator?
As an investigator, yes.
Yeah, if I'm an investigator and I'm talking to the last person to see somebody alive and they have their cell phone, without question, I'm concerned about that.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought it was
but
odd
But here's
too.
the thing, again, I'm working this thing as a homicide. So you have got to explain to me why you have that phone in a way that I'm going to accept and go, oh, that makes sense. So until she can do that, and there's no, well, she said this here and different here again, then that becomes problematic for me.
Yeah. I gotcha. Well, I'll send you that. I'll send you that diary entry so you can read it. And
Okay.
There's so much information. I just can't believe that she sent it to the Tampa Bay Times, but she did, and now we have it. But I'll send that to you. And I would
there's
love
so much information. And I just want to say again, our report to Sheriff Cronister was 120 something pages.
Wow.
And there's a couple of lines in there where literally I direct them again to y'all. And it's imperative that they look at what you've done, whether they feel like they can utilize it or not. They should certainly view it so that they can discern whether or not it's,
Yeah, and I know that they have a couple of people in that group, so they have access to everything that we put in the group. Now, we don't put everything in there, but there's enough in there that I think there's enough in there where they can use it how they need it, and then they could always reach out to me if they needed to. But I understand if they don't. I mean, I'm not qualified to be, an investigator in law enforcement, and all. I'm a rogue journalist, basically. And so I understand if they don't want to reach out to me. I hope that they do look at some of the videos, and I hope that they look at some of the stuff in the group that's been put out there, because there is useful information out there. And, you know.
Well, listen, I think I'm qualified. So I will just say this. If nothing more, they need to make contact and say thank you for sharing what you're willing to share with us. We'll take a look at it. And if it's okay with you, Ripa, can I call you in a week or so if I have questions or if I need additional information? That's all they got to do. And so to me, you should be polite and you should be grateful that there's people out there doing incredible work. Whether you feel like it's going to lead you to a conclusion or not, still just say thank you. They still should meet with you. They should still meet with the family.
They did.
There's no.
Donna and I did meet with Corporal Garcia. We did.
I know, but look what it took. And I'm just saying.
I know. Yeah.
Take that. And again, when you've got a family that, you're not talking about a case that's 3 weeks old and still hot. If it worked for a TV show, they wouldn't be talking to the family today.
I wouldn't have even known about it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right. They wouldn't have.
I mean, that's not okay.
Right. Yeah.
So, and we work with cold case families all the time that sometimes even have to sue a police department. And there's no reason for that. And everybody here is grown and everybody knows that, I'm going to tell y'all the best information I can. And there's ways to tell people something, even if you're not supposed to share the file with them. Right?
Yes.
So you can invite a family in and say, hey, I've got to make a phone call. It's going to probably take 10 minutes. I'll be right back. Just stay here in my office. I'll be right back. And there in front of them is a big old file with Don Lewis written on it. You can do that. If they choose to open it, they can open it. But
I understand.
You don't have to be cloak and dagger with somebody that you're pretty sure did not harm him. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I just want you to know
But I appreciate y'all calling me, and I appreciate the invite, and I look forward to meeting you and everybody in person at the memorial on August 15th.
Yes.
In the meantime, I will offer you and anybody in the group. If y'all need me, call me. If you feel like there's something I can help you do, even on another case, it doesn't have to be this one. Or if you've got something private you want to run past me, you can instant message me. I will help in any way I can. I don't want nothing from you. But again, if you feel like, can we possibly get in touch with Dr. Glass? I will make that happen tonight. So just let me know what I can do.
Okay.
But again, I'm impressed by everybody in the group.
Me too. I'm impressed by them also. And thank you for coming on here. There's lots of people saying thank you. Thank you for helping. Thanks for confirming some things and that kind of stuff. So we appreciate you coming here. And I would like to get you on my YouTube channel eventually one day, because I can show you documents while we're talking, but that'd be great. Another day. But I so appreciate you coming on here, and I hope you stay safe out there.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Y'all call anytime. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Well, that was wonderful. And I know Zirk actually had to go. I don't know if he had to go fishing again with his kid or what, but Cheryl has some really good information. And like I said, when I was talking to her, she actually provided me with names of some experts. I reached out to one of them and talked to this one expert. And I will tell you, the expert that I reached out to, he told me he was really interested in working this case, but if he was to work on the case, the sheriff's department would have to ask him to come work on it, and he wouldn't be able to share any of the information with the public. So I left it at that and thought I would wait till after the election that they have for the sheriff's department before I even went down that avenue, because I'm worried that if someone like the guy that I talked to would get involved and he turned all the information over, I'm just worried that nothing would be done with it. So I haven't turned his information over yet. Let me answer some of these questions here. The guns. Would the guns be registered to Don? Well, no, because the way that the guns, Don wasn't like out buying guns and, from, like you go to Walmart, you buy a gun and you register it. Most of the guns that he had for collateral. So maybe someone needed to borrow a couple $100, and they would say, here you go, let me borrow a couple $100. Don, you can hold this shotgun for me for collateral. So Don was kind of like a pawn shop where you would give him a gun, and he did it for machinery also, not just guns. But he would hold someone's guns for collateral, and then they would pay him back. He'd give the guns back. But Don had a record. He was a felon, so he couldn't have guns. So had he been caught with all these guns, it would have been a serious problem, which is what makes one of the things about the protection order that he filed in June, or tried to file, is that he admitted that he had guns. And he had to know that if he admitted to having these guns as being a felon, that he could be arrested right then and there or charged with a felon with a gun. So he was in such a desperate situation that he actually told law enforcement, I have these guns, and she took them from me. So I don't think he had any guns that were registered in his name. We haven't found any yet. Now, out of the 12 guns that are on that inventory list that we have from the sheriff's department, 2 of those guns were actually Kenny's. 2 of them actually belonged to him. But the other 10 should have come from Kenny, and however he got them, which we're told he got from Cheryl. And Cheryl actually confirmed that in her Netflix rebuttal when she said she gave Kenny Farr Don's collection of guns. And yeah, he probably was really scared, because he admitted, he wrote down on paper and filed it that I have guns. And from the stories that I've heard about Don, he would have known that he was taking a chance by admitting he actually had guns. So I have no doubt that he was scared for his life. Well, Zerk, when you listen to this, thank you for showing up earlier and helping get this set up. Everybody out there, thanks for listening. I didn't think it would last an hour and 40 minutes, but it's been an hour and 40 minutes. And I guess Sheryl was on for over an hour, which that went by really fast. And if you don't know who Sheryl is, I'm looking at her site right now, codecasecrimes.org. It's a 501 nonprofit. They assist families and law enforcement with unsolved homicides, missing persons. So this is the kind of stuff they do. But anyway, go check her out. She was involved with the Olympic bombing case. And as she said, she did that out of the goodness of her heart to do, to help. And then it turned into something really good for her. And that's what happens sometimes when people try to do good, they get rewarded for it. And then sometimes you try to do something good and you don't get rewarded for it. There's the old saying, every good deed comes with a price. That's not the saying, but you know how it goes. But anyway, Cheryl's really good people. When I do wrongful conviction stuff, law enforcement is normally one of my first targets to look at, or a prosecutor, something like that. In this case, she's on the opposite. She wants to actually do good for the people that she's working for. And remember, all this stuff that you see on the media about law enforcement, not every cop is a bad cop. Not everybody is racist. Just be careful what you hear, what you see out there. I've had issues with law enforcement also, but I also have really, really good friends from high school and college that are in law enforcement, and they are as good as can be. So just remember, not everything you see out there is 100% true. Not every cop is bad. Not everybody that was in law enforcement is a bad person. There's just some people that aren't doing things for the right reasons. So I will put this, I will put her link in the Facebook group also. And I will also put a link for this podcast in there. I think after I end it, it might take a second before it actually finalizes, but I'll put it in the group and I'll put her link in there also. So everybody that was here and that asked questions, thank you so much. I haven't been doing these podcasts for very long, so there's not very many people, but the people that are here, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We got a lot of stuff on this case that I would love to talk about, but I can't talk about. But I will let you guys know that there are tons of things going on with this case in the background, not with law enforcement, but other people that are helping me put things together. And they're not even in the group. They're outside sources outside of the group that are working to do things. So anyway, so I don't know if Cheryl knows someone over in the UK that can do missing person stuff, but maybe so. And don't paint every officer with the same brush. Exactly right. All right, everybody, stay safe out there. Thank you for being here. I'm Ripper, and I'm out.